A young woman in a simple maid's uniform, Zoey, sits with her knees drawn up, tears silently streaming down her face. She wipes her cheek, stands slowly, and composes herself. Unseen, someone watches from the stairs above. Ezekiel, late 20s, tailored suit, freshly back from London. His brows furrow. She doesn't even know I'm here. Why is she crying? The family celebrates Ezekiel's homecoming. His mother, Lady Evelyn, hosts a gathering of the rich and polished. Ezekiel smiles politely but is clearly disinterested. Lady Evelyn. You must settle soon. A powerful man needs a proper woman, not wandering eyes and romantic distractions. Ezekiel. Like a business deal. Good to see nothing's changed. He walks toward the wine table, annoyed. A maid steps in front of him unexpectedly. It's Zoey carrying a silver tray with crystal glasses. Suddenly. Clink! One glass slips and crashes to the floor, wine splashing on his shoes. The first real interaction. Everyone turns to look. Zoey bends to clean the mess, calm, quiet, not panicked. Ezekiel. Firmly. Do you know how much those shoes cost? Zoey. Calmly, without looking up. Probably more than what I'll earn this year. I'll still clean them. Ezekiel. Steps back, surprised. You're not going to apologize? Zoey. Stands up, meets his eyes directly. No. I didn't do it on purpose. You startled me. That's different from being careless. The room goes silent. Even the other servants freeze. Ezekiel blinks. He's not used to defiance, especially this calmly delivered. Ezekiel. Stammering slightly. You talk too much for a maid. Zoey. Coolly. And you listen too little for someone so rich. She turns and walks away. Private lounge night. Ezekiel's friends laugh about the bold maid. He pretends to brush it off, but the moment haunts him. Friend 1. That maid. She's weird. Cold and strange. She barely talks to anyone. Friend 2. Heard she turned down the head butler's nephew. Who even does that? Ezekiel. Sipping drink, distracted. Maybe she has standards. Friend 1. Smirking. You're into her now? Ezekiel doesn't respond. He gazes out the window where Zoey is lighting candles near the garden. Her silhouette in the dim light is simple yet deeply graceful. Ezekiel's bedroom night. Ezekiel unbuttons his shirt. The house is quiet now. He paces, then pulls out his phone, scrolls through dozens of pictures of his ex's supermodels, influencers, heirs. None of them make him feel what he felt in that one moment. He remembers. Zoey's voice echoed memory. You listen too little for someone so rich. Ezekiel, to himself. Who is she? He sits at his desk, frustrated. Then opens a drawer, and pulls out the wine-stained napkin from earlier. He kept it. He shakes his head, almost laughing at himself. Ezekiel, softly. I've never replayed a woman's voice in my head before. Servant's room. Zoey's side. Zoey sits alone on her bed, writing in a tiny notebook. One last tear falls onto the page. She closes the book and whispers. Zoey. Don't fall for someone who looks at you like you're invisible. Not again. The early sun filters through the wide glass windows of the mansion's grand dining hall. Ezekiel sits at the long marble table, sipping his coffee with a tightened jaw, clearly restless. The room is too quiet. His mother's voice echoes in his head, a powerful man needs control. But his thoughts are stuck on her. The maid. Zoey. The double doors open. Zoey walks in quietly, carrying a tray of fresh juice. She places it down, nods, and turns to leave. Ezekiel slams his cup on the saucer. "You're avoiding me." Zoey pauses, not turning around. "I'm working." "That's not what I asked." His voice hardens. "You think you're clever? Standing up to me in front of people?" Now she turns. "I don't think I'm clever," she replies. "I think you're used to people kneeling because of your surname." A breathless pause. Ezekiel steps forward, eyes blazing. "Do you even know who I am?" Zoey meets his gaze without flinching. "Do you?" The room feels like it contracts. A butler nearby slowly backs away, sensing the electricity in the air. For the first time, Ezekiel doesn't know what to say. Later that afternoon, Zoey is in the garden quietly trimming flowers. She's humming. Peaceful. Calm. Unbothered. From a distance, Ezekiel watches her from the balcony, arms folded. His friend, Jordan, steps beside him with a lazy smirk. "So, what's the story with this one? Looks like you've been hypnotized." Ezekiel doesn't reply. Jordan chuckles. "Bro. She's a maid. A cute one, sure. But you? Falling for someone who irons your shirts?" Ezekiel's eyes don't move from Zoey. "She's not like anyone I've met." Jordan shrugs. "That's because she talks back." The others smiled and posed. "You hate control, remember?" Ezekiel remains silent. Watching. Observing. Zoey stands, wiping sweat from her brow, and Ezekiel notices something, the scar on her left wrist, faint but visible. He frowns. That night at dinner, Zoey enters with soup. One of Ezekiel's cousins smirks and mutters loud enough, "Careful. Don't let her spill again, she might correct your grammar too." Polite laughter. But Zoey says nothing. She just serves, calm and focused. Ezekiel watches. Everyone's laughing at her composure, and yet she never breaks character. It irritates him, but also makes something inside him ache. Later, in the hallway, Zoey walks with a tray in her hands. He steps in her path. Alone. "Why do you act like you don't care what people say?" he asks, voice quieter now. She stops. Looks up at him, steady. "Because I've been through worse things than their words." Ezekiel blinks. For a second, he sees it in her eyes, pain buried deep. But then it disappears behind her calm mask. He doesn't know what to say. So he moves. Zoey walks past him without another word. Midnight. Ezekiel sits alone in his private study, scrolling through emails he isn't reading. His mind is elsewhere. He picks up his phone and calls his driver. "Rogers." "Yes, sir. I want you to find out everything about that maid. Her name is Zoey." A beat. "Everything, sir." "Yes. Where she's from. Who she's avoiding. What she's hiding." He hangs up. Then leans back in his chair. Not smiling. Just whispering to himself. What are you really running from? Zoey? The clock strikes midnight. The mansion is silent except for the ticking of an antique wall clock. Everyone is asleep except him. Ezekiel walks quietly through the dimly lit hallway, steps soft, eyes calculating. He reaches the small, rarely visited servant quarters, a hallway of worn wooden doors, much humbler than the rooms he's used to. One door is slightly open. Zoey's. He pauses. Then pushes it open gently. The room is small, neat, and quiet. A simple bed. A faded quilt. A cracked window with a soft curtain swaying in the breeze. On the bedside table lies an old notebook, its corners frayed, the cover barely holding. He steps in slowly, drawn toward it like a magnet. They don't hear the girl who doesn't scream. But silence doesn't mean safety. It means pain learned to whisper. He sinks onto her bed, the notebook trembling in his hand. Poem after poem, raw, aching, beautiful. Pages soaked with sorrow and strength. She writes of dreams, of being unseen, of scars hidden behind kindness. His heart beats louder than the silence. He shuts the notebook. Stares at the ceiling. Who hurt you like that? A noise. He looks up. Zoey stands at the door. Barefoot. Calm. But her eyes, thunderclouds. You went through my things, she says. Ezekiel stands abruptly. I didn't mean to. You just ignored my space. My privacy. Her voice doesn't rise. It cuts, sharp and steady. He swallows hard. Those poems, they're painful. They're mine. You write like someone whose heart was broken, she interrupts. Yes. He hesitates. By who? A pause. A long one. Then, she steps closer, meets his eyes, and says, some hearts break themselves. The weight of that lands heavy in the room. He looks at her, really looks, and sees more than a maid now. He sees a woman building herself from rubble. I didn't come here to hurt you, he says quietly. But you did, she replies. Another silence. Then Zoey walks over to the notebook, takes it gently, and says, people like you read our pain like poetry. But you never sit with the silence after the last line. She leaves the room. Doesn't slam the door. She doesn't need to. Ezekiel stands there, frozen. Not because of guilt. But because for the first time in his life, he wants to understand a woman, not fix her. The mansion's backyard is alive with gentle breeze, rustling trees, and the sound of distant birds. Ezekiel stands by the garden doors in a crisp white shirt, holding a half-drunk coffee. He looks perfect. Composed. Cold. Behind him, Alina, his socialite girlfriend, wraps her arms around his waist and kisses his neck. You're distracted, she pouts. Thinking about your board meeting again? Ezekiel forces a small smile. Something like that. She pulls his hand. You promised me breakfast by the lake. He turns, kissing her forehead. Later. As she heads toward the patio with her phone in hand, Ezekiel's gaze shifts. To the garden. There, kneeling in the flower bed, is Zoey, her sleeves rolled up, dirt on her hands, pulling weeds with care. She brushes her hair behind her ear, unaware he's watching. His coffee grows cold. That night, Ezekiel finds himself at a luxury rooftop lounge in the city with Alina and a group of friends. Jazz plays softly in the background. Laughter, designer heels, champagne flutes. He sits beside Alina, but is distant. She notices. Ezekiel. This isn't working, is it? He blinks, surprised. What? I mean us, she says. You're here, but you're not with me. I'm tired, he lies. No, she says with a smile too elegant to be angry, you're distracted by someone who probably doesn't even own heels. He stares at her. You think it's funny? I think it's tragic. Billionaire falls for the maid. Ezekiel, this isn't a K-drama. He doesn't respond. Later that night, back at the mansion, he walks past Zoey in the hallway. She doesn't stop. She doesn't greet him. He turns suddenly. Why are you always so calm? She stops but doesn't turn. I don't owe chaos to people who don't care. He steps closer. I care. Now she turns, slow, her eyes full of fire and sadness. No, Ezekiel. You're just curious. That's different. She walks away, and he's left standing alone in a hallway full of expensive silence. The next afternoon, he finds himself in the maid quarters again, standing in Zoey's empty room. He knows it's wrong. He knows he shouldn't be there. But something pulls him in. Again. He's about to leave when the edge of a photo peeks out from the drawer. It falls to the floor. He picks it up. And freezes. It's Zoey, but not in a uniform. She's dressed in a high-class evening gown. Hairstyled. Jewelry. A gala in the background. She doesn't look like a maid. She looks like someone who belonged to a different world. He turns the photo over. Nothing written. Zoey walks in. They lock eyes. He holds up the photo. Who are you really? Her face goes pale. She takes the photo, gently. Doesn't speak. Just looks at him like he's not ready for the answer. And then she whispers, "You shouldn't feel this." She walks past him and closes the door. Not slamming it. Just closing it enough to lock him out of whatever truth she's still hiding. The storm hits without warning. Lightning cracks the sky open. The mansion lights flicker once, twice, and then vanish into darkness. Power outage. A guard rushes past the hallway. Generator failed. Emergency lights only in main wing. Ezekiel walks calmly with a flashlight in hand, annoyed but curious. He was heading to the cellar to find a vintage bottle for a guest dinner. Instead, he finds her. Zoey. Already there. She's holding a small candle, standing in the far end of the cellar surrounded by shelves of aged wine bottles. Her shadow dances across the stone walls. They both pause. "You again," he says, trying to sound casual. "I needed quiet," she answers. He closes the heavy cellar door behind him. "You picked the right time." Suddenly clack. The latch shuts with a loud echo. He tries the handle. Nothing. "We're locked in," he says. Zoey doesn't panic. She simply sets the candle down and leans against a barrel. Then we wait. They sit across from each other in the flickering glow of candlelight, surrounded by silence, wood, and the scent of aged oak and red wine. After a moment, Ezekiel says quietly, "Why do you always avoid looking at me?" She shrugs. "You make people stare. I make people disappear." He watches her carefully. "You hide behind silence, Zoey. But I read your poetry." She stiffens. "I know what it's like," he continues, softer now. "To feel like no one actually sees you." She finally speaks. "You? The world bends for you." "No. It sees my name. My money. But when it's quiet, like this," he sighs, "I forget what it's like to be real." She looks at him for the first time in the dim light. Their eyes lock. A storm outside. A heavier storm inside. He asks, "Who did you lose?" She looks down. "My brother." A long silence. "He died protecting me. I ran from that world, and now I clean the floors of the rich to feel invisible." Ezekiel swallows hard. "You're the only person who's ever made me feel like I want to be seen." She turns her face. Her voice wavers. "Don't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because," she stands up, pacing. "Because I already feel too much when I'm near you. And I can't afford that." Ezekiel rises too, steps toward her. "What if I feel it too?" The space between them tightens. Slowly he reaches out. Fingers graze hers. She doesn't move. Their faces are inches apart. Breathless. One more inch. Then she pulls away. Shaking. Tears in her eyes. "No," she whispers. "Please don't make this harder for me." Ezekiel stands frozen as she backs away into the shadows. Footsteps above. The cellar door creaks open. A staff member's voice, "Sir, we've fixed the generator." Light floods in. But the moment, already gone. Zoey brushes past him without a word, eyes down, voice silent. Ezekiel watches her disappear back into the mansion's light, while he remains in the cellar, still in the dark. A long, elegant dining table. A crystal chandelier glows above. Silence. Ezekiel's mother slams a thick manila folder onto the glass. "This maid has been lying to us." Ezekiel looks up from his phone. His father peers over his reading glasses. "She said her name was Zoey Nyarand," his mother hisses. "But there's no one by that name in the national ID system. Not with that face." The room tightens with tension. Across the hallway, Zoey carries a tray of fresh fruit. She freezes when she hears her name whispered behind closed doors. Her hands tremble just slightly. She steadies them. In the study, Ezekiel flips the folder open. Inside grainy photos, a scanned passport under a different surname, and a torn private school transcript with her photo on it. "Where did this come from?" he asks. "We had her background checked," his mother says proudly. "Quiet maids with poetry journals don't just show up at our doorstep." "She's dangerous." His father chimes in. "She's been here under false pretenses. We should press charges." Ezekiel's voice hardens. "She's not a criminal. She's a person." "Then she should act like one," his mother snaps. "No more secrets. This is our house, not a hiding place for strays." Later that evening, Ezekiel finds Zoey alone in the hallway, folding fresh linens with a grace that doesn't match her shaking hands. "I heard," she says without looking up. "I didn't lie. I just didn't explain." "They're trying to fire you," he says, voice tight. "I know. You're not going to defend yourself." She looks up now, calm. "You think rich people care about truth? They care about control." He steps forward. "Let me talk to them." But she stops him with a glance that's already resigned. "You'll lose their trust," she whispers. "For a maid. I don't care what they think anymore." A pause. She steps back. "Well, I do." Next day, charity brunch. Guests. Journalists. The elite. The backyard is pristine, the wine flowing. Laughter everywhere. Ezekiel's parents stand near the gazebo, smiling for photos. Then it happens. A server whispers something. All heads turn. Zoey is being quietly pulled aside by two head staff members. "We need you to leave the premises," one says stiffly. "Immediately." "Why?" she asks. "Madam's orders. You're no longer employed here." Zoey straightens up. She does not beg. That's when Ezekiel arrives, grabs the server's arm. "She's not going anywhere." Gasps. Guests turn. A camera flashes. Ezekiel, his mother calls out sharply, furious. "She's staying," he says louder. "If you fire her, I'll walk out too." A silence heavier than thunder settles. His father steps in. "Son, this is not the place." "No," Ezekiel says. "This is exactly the place. If your reputation matters more than her dignity, then maybe we're not who I thought we were." Zoey watches him. Her lips part. Her hands tremble again, but not with fear this time. His mother glares. "Fine. You want to protect her? Then live with her lies." Zoey can't take it anymore. She steps forward. "I quit." Ezekiel turns. "What?" She walks calmly. Tears in her eyes, voice even. Don't fight for me, Ezekiel. You're not the one who'll be whispered about. I am. He reaches for her arm, but she pulls away. I need to go. Before this becomes a bigger mess for you. You think I care about? I know you care. That's the problem. And just like that, she walks through the crowd. No suitcase. No driver. Just Zoey, leaving quietly the same way she came. Ezekiel stands in the middle of the party, surrounded by people who have everything. And for the first time in his life, he feels like he has nothing at all. City traffic. A crowded afternoon. A bus door hisses shut. Inside, a woman in a long beige coat and scarf turns her face away. Outside, a man sprints, eyes wide, hand raised. Zoey? The bus pulls off. People stare. Cars honk. He stands frozen in the street. Breathless. Shaking. It was her. He knows it was her. Flashback, 24 hours earlier. Ezekiel hasn't eaten. He hasn't slept. He drives through back alleys, checks every flower stall, bookstore, and poetry cafe in the city. His assistant tells him to let it go. His mother pretends she never existed. But Ezekiel can't. He's haunted by the way she left. Not angry. Not scared. Just hurting. And done. Morning. A flower shop in a quiet part of town. Bell jingles. Ezekiel walks in. It smells like roses, wet leaves, and something gentle. There she is. Apron on. Hair tied up. No makeup. Rearranging tulips. She freezes when she sees him. He exhales. I was right. She lowers her eyes. Why are you here? I needed to know you're okay. She goes back to arranging. I'm fine. I moved on. You didn't tell me where you were going. You didn't ask me to stay. That lands hard. He steps forward. I didn't think you would. Silence. Only the hum of the refrigerator. She finally looks at him. You don't belong here, Ezekiel. I didn't think I belonged anywhere. Until I met you. Later, at the back of the shop. He leans on the counter. Watching her work. I know I can't ask you to come back to that house. So, I started my own company. She raises an eyebrow. You? Working? He smirks. First job offer I ever made in person. She laughs once. Briefly. Doing what? Personal art consultant. You pick the flowers. You set the tone. I just pay you way too much. You're hiring me so I won't disappear again. No, he says, quieter. I'm hiring you because I finally get it. She waits. He breathes, deeply. You changed me, Zoey. The way you held your head. The way you made silence feel louder than noise. I didn't know who I was until you walked away. Her eyes glass over, but she doesn't blink. And now that I do, I don't want to go back to who I was before you. They sit on crates, behind the flower shop. He hands her a coffee. She sips. It's her favorite. He remembered. The sun is setting, casting amber light through petals and glass. She finally says, I'm scared. He nods. Me too. A moment. Then he leans just slightly forward. Don't disappear again. Her hand brushes his just enough to say, I'm still here. The shop is quiet. Too quiet. Outside, people walk by, but in here, time stops. Zoey doesn't touch the photo. Instead, she says softly, who showed you? Ezekiel's jaw clenches. Does it matter? She sighs. Her fingers tremble as she removes her gloves. It was a long time ago. You were a billionaire's daughter. The girl who vanished after your father's scandal. Zoey Sinclair. He stares at her like she's a stranger. You swept floors in my house. You served wine to people who used to toast with your father. She finally meets his gaze. Yes. Ezekiel's friend from boarding school texts him, recognize her. An article link. Heiress turned ghost, whatever happened to Zoey Sinclair? Her father. White-collar fraud. Fortune vanished overnight. Family disappeared. Back to present. Ezekiel's voice cracks. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't lie, she says. I just never told you the truth. That's the same thing, Zoey. She laughs bitterly. You think I wanted you to see that? To see me at my lowest, scrubbing your mother's marble floors. His voice softens slightly. I didn't care about that. But you do now. Silence. The air between them is cold. He turns away, then back. You let me believe you were just some poor girl with pride. I fell in love with that version. Tears brim in her eyes, but she holds steady. Then maybe you didn't fall in love with me. He paces the shop, restless, conflicted. You could have told me. I defended you. Fought for you. I thought we had something honest. I needed to disappear, she says. After the media, the headlines, the shame. I needed to be no one. He glares. Then why come back into my life? I didn't come back. You dragged me out. He leans on the counter, voice low. What was real, Zoey? She walks over. Close. Her voice wavers. Every word. Every glance. Every almost kiss. He blinks hard, fighting emotion. She whispers, but you're just like the rest, ashamed of what I became. That stings deeper than anything. He stares at her, really stares like he doesn't know who she is anymore. Then slowly, he walks out. The bell above the door rings. The flowers stay in her hand. Tears fall silently onto the petals. Outside, Ezekiel stops in the rain. He looks back once, but doesn't return. A long glass table. Suits, tension, cold stares. The chairman says, it's $1 billion merger, Ezekiel. He stands. Straightens his tie. Looks them all dead in the eye. If it costs me her dignity, you can keep your billions. Gasps. Phones buzz. Cameras flash. The boardroom erupts. Outside the towering skyscraper, reporters chase him. Why did you pull out of the deal? Was it for the maid? He says nothing. Just walks. Eyes forward. Heart pounding. Zoey's voice in the flower shop echoes in his mind. You're just like the rest, ashamed of what I became. Zoey at her small apartment. She watches the news on an old TV. Billionaire Ezekiel Ward backs out of elite finance deal, cites moral concerns. She exhales deeply. Softly, her hand touches the TV screen where his face appears. Why are you doing this? Later that night, Ezekiel stands outside her building. He doesn't knock at first. He reads the final poem she left in the notebook. I thought silence would protect me, but it only made me lonely. He finally knocks. She opens the door, surprised, guarded. I did it, he says. I exposed the men who set your father up. The real fraud. I have the files. It's all over the news tomorrow. She looks stunned. He steps closer. You changed me. I'm not the man who mocked you. I'm not my parents. Or my name. She shakes her head. You're still healing. You're fighting the world for me, but are you fighting yourself? He's confused. What do you mean? You're used to winning with noise, Ezekiel. But love isn't loud. Sometimes it's just staying. He looks down. Voice hoarse. I love you. She smiles sadly. Then show it. Heal for yourself. Not to impress me. She takes his hand. Because I love you too. But not enough to break myself again while you're still bleeding. His breath catches. She kisses his cheek. Not his lips. Then closes the door slowly. He stands in the hallway. Silent. Still. For once, unsure. But finally honest. Soft church bells chime in the background. Ezekiel stands alone beneath the grand old oak tree, staring at the empty aisle lined with white flowers. His suit is neat but simple, his face calm yet filled with quiet longing. The crowd waits inside the chapel, murmuring softly. Suddenly, a soft voice behind him, you don't have to stand here alone. He turns slowly. Zoey stands there, radiant, not as a maid, but as a woman reborn. The bells echo again, this time a promise. Months have passed. Ezekiel's life has changed completely. The arrogance is gone. The flashy suit's replaced by humble clothes. He's working quietly, helping others, healing himself. Zoey's return is no accident. She's chosen to come back on her own terms. They don't rush. Instead, they walk side by side, letting silence speak volumes. Ezekiel, I thought I knew what love was. Zoey, you thought it was about winning. About power. Ezekiel, I was wrong. Zoey smiles softly. Love is patient. It's forgiveness. It's learning to hold yourself when no one else will. She takes his hand and leads him into the chapel. The guests rise quietly as they walk down the aisle together, not as a display, but as a natural flow of two souls healed. Their eyes never leave each other. The ceremony is simple, honest. No grand speeches, just two vows whispered under the stained glass windows. As they exchange rings, Zoey's voice narrates softly over the scene. Love is not just about finding someone who completes you. It's about becoming whole yourself. Because when you love yourself, every other love becomes a gift, not a need. Outside, rain begins to fall gently. Ezekiel and Zoey step outside, the droplets sparkling like tiny stars. He pulls her close. They kiss slow, tender, real. Zoey's poetry quote from her notebook. In the garden of broken hearts, I found a bloom that never fades, love taught by the quiet strength of a humble soul.